This is Studio 809.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Outdoors Hiking Bob podcast. I am your host, Hiking Bob Falcone, and you can find me and all my links to social media, my columns at The Independent, my podcast, my photography website, and anything you want to know about me. Everything is at hikingbob.com. We'll just make it easy, and just if you go there, everything's right there. The new improved website, which I put together, I don't know, a couple months ago, looks really good and gotten positive remarks. Everybody seems to like it. So that is ready to go, and just go to hikingbob.com and check everything out. And also, we'd appreciate it if you like this podcast, and I hope you do, and want to support it. That'd be great. You can do that at patreon.com, patreon.com/hikingbob, and be a supporter. And depending on your level of support, there's different rewards for being a supporter of the podcast. And we always appreciate that. It helps pay the bills to put this on. And, the commitment I have is that this podcast will always be free. There's never going to be a subscription paywall or anything like that. So you can help support it at patreon.com. Today with me is my co-host, Kevin Wild Westendorf.
Hey everyone, Wild Westendorf here, and you can find me on my website at www.wildwestendorf.com, and social media, primarily Facebook and Instagram, at Wild Westendorf.
Kevin, glad to have you here. The day we're recording this the day before you're going to air. We're actually been getting rain.
A lot of it, too.
A lot of it. Although there have been some flooding in the eastern plains and eastern part of El Paso County here, about 40 miles east of Colorado Springs. It hasn't been that heavy torrential rain. It's been steady rain, some of it heavier at times than at other times, but nothing terrible. So we've actually had some pretty good, nice rain that's soaking in. The bad part is I find out where all the weeds are in my backyard because they pop up when it rains, but that's okay. It's nice to have this rain and everything's greening up. I think the wildflower season's been great, and I think that our fall color season is going to be good. And I know it's still early, it's still mid-August. Nobody wants to get in the fall any earlier than we have to, but we know that's around the corner. A month from now, we'll be seeing the beginnings of the fall color season.
Yep.
I think it might run a little later than usual. And I think that it's going to be really good because the aspens that I've been seeing out there look really, really nice.
Nice, good.
They're green. They're healthy. They look really good. You can see the growth on them is pretty substantial. So I think this weather we're having is going to be really nice. If this holds up, and there's no reason to think it's not going to, I think we're going to have a really nice fall color season. So that's still a month or so away, but it's. Oh, heck, it's going to be here sooner than we want.
Yeah, but don't forget, this is what's called false fall, where the temps get cooler and it feels really nice, and it's going to get really hot one more time, and then fall comes.
Right, yeah, don't be fooled. And I'm going to stand by what I've been saying for the many years that I've lived here. September is still the best month in Colorado.
That's right, yeah.
I will stand by that. It is the best month to be in Colorado. The weather's perfect. The monsoons are done. It's too early for snow. Of course, around here, it's too early for snow until January. We don't seem to get any till January. And the wildflowers are still around, and the fall colors are coming up. And a lot of times, if your timing is good, you'll be able to go on a hike where you out take pictures, and you see fall colors and wildflowers. Typically asters, the later stuff, the asters and sunflowers. You'll see some of that. And I've been seeing some flowers around that I haven't seen before. I should say I've been seeing weeds with flowers that I haven't seen before, but it's all good. So, Kevin, last week I was down on vacation. I took the camper and the dog, who is, as we talked about on last week's episode, last week's podcast, a little mobility limited. He'll be getting his surgery. When you hear this, he'll probably be in surgery or getting ready for surgery, or maybe just out of surgery. But we went down to Chama, New Mexico, which is about 10 miles south of the Colorado line on Highway 17. So Chama is a little town about 10 miles south, 10 miles south of the Colorado border. And it is the southern terminus of the Cumbres and Toltec Railroad.
Oh, that's right.
The steam engine starts in Antonito, ends in Chama, it goes back and forth. And if you've never done that, I definitely endorse it. And as a full disclosure, although I am not a I'm not on a governing body or anything. I am a member of the Friends of the Cumberson Toltec because I just love the work.
Oh,
they
I didn't
do.
know that. Okay.
Yeah, I've been a member for a number of years. But I have no stake in it, and I have no say. I'm just a member. I pay my dues. They send me a very nice magazine. Matter of fact, here's one. A couple times a year they do a very nice job, and they use the money to rebuild the trains, and the work they do is just tremendous. But if you ever want a beautiful scenic ride, especially in the next month or so, in the fall, I can't recommend that train enough. We all know about the Durango and Silverton, and it's pretty. I'm not going to take anything away from it. It goes up in the mountains, but I think for pure scenic value, I think the Cumberson Toltec has a slight advantage. Now, there's also the train in Georgetown, up along I-70, just before the Eisenhower Tunnel, the Continental Divide up there. It's also very pretty. There's a couple of these trains that run around.
Oh yeah,
Colorado. They're all very pretty, but I'm kind of biased toward this one, which is why I'm a member of their friends group.
Now, what town does it start in Colorado?
In Antonito.
Okay.
And Antonito is about 30 miles directly south of Alamosa.
Okay.
So basically, if you're coming from Colorado Springs or, the Front Range, you go south on I-25 to Walsenburg, turn right, go to Alamosa, and turn left.
Okay, I think I remember that. It was very easy to get to.
Yeah, real easy directions, a right and a left.
Yeah.
And that's about all you need. So anyway, we were down there, and I've been down there before on a camping trip, and I couldn't remember whether it was the year before last or the year before that. In any case, there's a lot of really good hiking. Now, typically what we've done is we've stayed in New Mexico, but we've come across, typically my hikes have been back over into Colorado.
Okay.
And it's a quick 10, like I said, it's 10 miles. Some of the places we've gone to, we've started in New Mexico and ended up in Colorado or vice versa. So I've been there before, and some of the hikes I did were about 20 some odd miles back into Colorado because there's just no place to stay.
Oh,
on the Colorado side, unless you go way back up there. And there's some really nice lakes, Red Lake, Duck Lake, Hidden Lake. Hidden Lake because, when I got there, it's hidden because there's no water in it anymore. So it's well hidden. And so I've done those, and I had some hikes on my thing. There were a couple things that the first day we got there ended up not being able to do anything. But in any case, we went back down there this last week. We're towing the camper with the Jeep. It's about a 5-hour drive. Okay. It's not a hard 5 hours. It's really pretty easy. If you're not towing a camper, you just go and jump into your car. You can knock about an hour off of that. And one of the things that flows that's out there, and I discovered this trail. Again, you doing the way I do things, pull out maps. Now there's no Trails Illustrated map for that entire region for some reason.
Oh wow!
And
okay.
I need to just send them a letter. So you guys are missing out. This tremendous opportunity here. But I used Cotrex, the state's app, and found this trail called the Chama River Trail. And you start on the road to get there in New Mexico, and as you're going up this road, most of this road, about 5 miles of this road goes through private property. And then you come out on Forest Service land. And I did a little research, and there was something in about, you have to cross a creek to get there. Like, okay. It turned out to be one of the most scenic places I'd ever seen.
Nice. It
was gorgeous. Now, I did have to wade across a river up to my knees and have to cross, and it wasn't far across this, I shouldn't even say river, a creek. It may have been 30 feet across this creek, water up to my knees, and then had to cross another kind of muddy puddles to get there. So this is late in the season. Earlier in the year, there's going to be a lot more water.
Oh, that's right.
It's going to be a lot colder. So I'm going to temper that by saying this was in August when there's a lot less water coming through there. The day I did go and scout it out, there's some water because on the Monday we drove down, there had just been some rain. So the water level was high. By the next day, you could see the water level had dropped down considerably and the flow had dropped down. But you get in there and this trail kind of runs along the river. Now, it only really gets close to the river once or twice. But it runs in this big, wide, it's a valley, but they call it a basin.
Okay.
Because it's very wide. And you're standing at the wide end of this basin. And from there, you're maybe 2 miles back into Colorado from there. And then on the New Mexico, and you're actually less than 2 miles from actually private property.
Okay.
So this is about as far south as you can go in this basin without being on private property or anything. And it's just, and we've seen this before in a lot of places where the mountains just kind of close in the distance.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a peak up there at the end. But what was really nice was it was just a blanket of wildflowers.
Oh, okay.
So you know me and wildflowers
Yeah.
and photography, my mind just going nuts. And it wasn't just a bluebird blue sky. It was white puffy clouds mixed in. And I posted pictures on Instagram and Facebook, and there will be a column about this trail
awesome.
coming up in the Indy because I think it's worth doing. The Continental Divide Trail comes through there. There's a lot of trails in this area, but I think, and I don't want to go into a lot of detail about the trails down there because, like I said, I'm going to write about it. But I think what happens is a lot of people just don't see this area as a destination. When you mention this area, people are like, where? What?
It's a very remote area, too.
It is very remote. And I think what happens is people get on the train, either in Antonito or in Chama, and the way the train works is you typically don't do a complete round trip on the train. There's a train that goes halfway to this place that has a big barn, if you will, that they serve you lunch and everything, and then you come back, or you go from one point to the other and you take a bus ride back to wherever you started from. So a lot of people miss this. Now, trust me, where the train goes is beautiful and scenic as all get out, so you're not missing anything. But when people are on the road, they're going to be on the road probably in a bus going from, wherever they started from the end point to where they started from. So what happens is they miss this beautiful scenery. And there's some great scenery just off of Highway 17.
Okay.
The other nice thing about Highway 17 is that the train runs either across it or near it several times. So if you catch it right, you can actually get some great pictures of this beautiful old steam engine coming by there. And do that in the fall when the fall colors are changing. And the pictures you get are to die for. So this area misses out a lot, I think. A lot of people miss it. I would suggest if you want to go down there and visit it, there's a little place called Platoro that's kind of about halfway between Antonito and Chama, but there's not a lot of services there. There's a campground. There's really no place to stay. There's no shopping that you can do for food or anything like that. So Chama is a good place to stay. The area is so little traveled, and the highway's in great shape that it takes you no time at all to drive back and forth, and you always spot something else to look at or anything. So I guess what I'm getting to is it's a beautiful area. If you've never been there, I think everybody owes it to themselves to go there. Chama has a number of campgrounds. The one we stayed at, the Sky Mountain RV Park, and they're not paying me to say this or anything. This is the second time we've been there. They are awesome. The place is beautiful. Good. It's just the right size where it's not 3,000 campers in there or anything like that. The owners are wonderful to deal with. They're really nice people. Chama has a pretty decent-sized grocery store, a couple places to eat.
Yeah, it's a cute town.
Yeah, a couple of gas stations, and of course you get to see the train, and there's some pretty cool stuff there. So I posted just the day before we're recording this, so on the Monday before we record this airs, I posted a bunch of pictures from being down there, some of them on the trail. The other thing is the Continental Divide Trail comes through there.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And the Continental Divide Trail crosses Highway 17 at the Cumbres Pass, which the train also stops at. So it crosses there at about 10,000 feet. And I've been wanting to I've done pieces of the Continental Divide Trail here and there. And I wanted to do it. Unfortunately, I didn't do as far as I wanted to because I wanted to go and get some sunset pictures somewhere else. And I wanted to do from the pass to the New Mexico border and back, it's going to be about 6 miles. I got a late start, and it's all just my fault. But there's one section of the Continental Divide Trail that I went south from the Cumbres Pass. Ended up the trail runs on this ridge. And the scenery just dry. And there were so many flowers, and it was just beautiful scenery. And it turned out the sunset was nothing to take pictures of. And if I knew that in advance, I'd have stayed on the trail longer. But, if I didn't go to take pictures of sunset, it would have been awesome, and I would have missed the pictures. I wasn't going to win. I wasn't going to win on this anyway. So if you get a chance to go down there, I highly recommend it. Chama is a really neat little town. The only thing about Chama, and this is about New Mexico in general, and again, it's not a slam, it's the facts, is, a lot of these RV parks have Wi-Fi. And typically, RV park Wi-Fi is never very good.
Yeah.
It's really bad down there. And I thought it was just our RV park. So I went to this little coffee shop in town that had free Wi-Fi. And again, those people were wonderful. By the way, the best breakfast bagel sandwich you can buy anywhere.
Ooh, okay.
It was delicious. And went on their Wi-Fi. Still was terrible. It turns out that Chama just and this is a town of 1,000 people on a good day when the kids are home.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing. Just has terrible internet infrastructure. And I did a little research, and it turns out New Mexico in general just does not have good rural Wi-Fi infrastructure. Cell phone service is pretty good. It's not 5G. I wouldn't expect it in a very rural area, remote area. But the 4G Wi-Fi internet was very good on. I use Xfinity, which is Verizon's backbone.
Oh, yeah. I
don't know about other. I can't speak about any other providers. The Wi-Fi, the internet was pretty good and pretty widespread. There was a lot of places I couldn't get to when I was in this Chama River Basin. There was no service in there, and I loved it.
Yeah.
It was perfect. But in any case, so when you're trying to do stuff like I was trying to do some work, get a column submitted and everything, it was tedious getting it done because internet was in and out and in and out. I managed to get it done. I got it done early. I knew it was going to be an issue getting it uploaded. Took advantage of late at night when fewer people are on, especially in a campground, and did some stuff overnight. But if you're down there and you're counting on Wi-Fi, just understand that it's a rural area anyway, but New Mexico's rural internet service is just not great. You come to Colorado, and Colorado has spent hundreds of millions of dollars spreading internet service to very rural areas, and I think it's done a better job than other states. Now, again, I'm not picking on New Mexico. It is what it is, and they readily acknowledge it. When I checked in the campground, the very nice lady checking me in there said, the Wi-Fi is what it is. It's Chama. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what she meant. But it turns out, no, it's Chama. It's just not very good. Again, but the people down there are nice. The little shops, the restaurants down there are what you expect in a small town. The ones you see this year may not be the ones that are there next year. They may either change names or change hands or be closed entirely. It's always a crapshoot. But the supermarket there is pretty well stocked and had a really good selection of stuff actually. So it's a good place to stop in and reload on supplies. Gas prices were probably 20 cents lower per gallon than they are here in Colorado Springs.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Which is amazing for such a rural area.
Yeah.
I expected that to be really high, and they were not. They may be high for New Mexico, but they were much lower than they were for us. And pretty good place. So I'll look for a column in the Indy, and when I put the column out there, I will also link back to the previous articles I've done about hiking back down there. But if you're looking for a place that's new to you, that you haven't been to, definitely the stretch of Highway 17 from the turnoff for Platoro Reservoir all the way down to Chama is definitely a place that's worth checking out. And there's many places, if you go south out of Chama, you go down a little further, there's a lot of nice places even further south in New Mexico. We didn't get a chance to visit those. So our actual time there, we traveled on Monday and Friday, so we had about 3 days actually there to do stuff. And not everything was working to my advantage that day. Things did not work out as well as I had anticipated. But did get to see some stuff, took a bunch of tremendous pictures, and it was a beautiful trip. You've driven through there, but you've never hiked there, is that right?
I stayed there for a wedding.
That's right. I do remember you mentioning that.
Yeah, but I did not get a chance to hike because it was a quick weekend trip after I had just gotten back from the Great Smoky Mountains.
Now I remember. I knew there was something you had done down that way. Well, I highly recommend going to check it out. It is a really cool place, and the beauty of it is it's not crowded. I think there's a lot of people who fish down there, a couple of rivers that flow through there. They're easy to access for fishermen. So a lot of anglers spend a lot of time fishing down there. I imagine in the fall and winter, it's a popular hunting area.
Oh, yeah.
But this time of the year, the summer, it's a beautiful place to go camping. And there's a lot of backpacking. If you look at coach wrecks and look down there, there's some loops down there you can do that might be like doing loops up here in the Lost Creek Wilderness, 20 plus miles.
Yeah.
And you can do these pieces of the Continental Divide Trail you can pick up at different places. All in all, though, beginning to be one of my favorite places.
When I drove there, it was in October in like peak fall colors, and driving over that pass was just intensely beautiful.
Yep. And there's two passes. There's La Manga Pass, so that little town of Platoro. Right after you come out of that, you go right over this very tall pass, La Manga Pass. And then there's the next one, which is the Cumbres Pass. And I think Cumbres Pass is a little lower in elevation.
Yeah.
So there's two passes. So you come out of Manzanito, down, you hit this river, and then boom, you start going right up La Manga Pass. There's some trails that come off of there. That's kind of where Red Lake Trail comes off of, Duck Lake Trail comes off in that same area. Hidden Lake comes off that little town there. You have to take a turn off there. There were some lakes I wanted to do and just couldn't get to them. And I may actually just do like a weekend trip down there and car camp and just hit a couple more places if I have time between now and when the weather doesn't make it hospitable. I've got some stuff coming up. I'm doing some traveling, so that may not work out this year. But it's definitely worth a try if anybody wants to check that out. And if you have any questions about it, feel free to email me. Just go to my website, hikingbob.com, click to contact me, and if you have any questions, drop me a line. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have about it. But it's really a fun place to go check out.
Nice.
Especially if you don't want to be bothered by anybody.
Yeah.
Either your phone's not going to work or you're not going to see anybody or both.
Exactly.
Both is pretty cool. I'll say that. Kevin, have you done any hiking or anything? I know your new job is keeping you pretty busy, but have you had a chance to get any hiking in?
Haven't done anything new or huge yet. I was planning on that for this weekend because I'm going to be off on Friday, but it looks like it's pretty much going to rain all weekend. So I'm just going to play it by ear.
Okay. Kevin, this past weekend was also the return of the Starlight Spectacular bike ride.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
And it's been a tradition in Colorado Springs for a long time. It started out that it would start at 2:30 in the morning at Garden of the Gods, and you would come all the way into downtown Colorado Springs and go back up into Garden of the Gods. You'll start in at the visitor center. And then they moved it to about midnight some years ago. And then they moved it back a little earlier, and that was because they wanted to get more families involved. I mean, what kids are going to be out at 2:30 or 12 o'clock at night, and how are you going to talk some little kids into getting on a bike? I want to go to sleep, Dad. I get it. And of course, this stupid thing called the pandemic kind of got in the way. So you remember that, right? Had to be postponed for a couple of years. So they started it back up this year. The other thing that happened is, of course, when they started this, the city was a lot smaller than it is now and a lot less busy than it is now. And, there was more traffic control that was needed, more police presence that was needed. And, of course, all that comes at a substantial cost. Yeah. So this year they did it strictly in the Garden of the Gods. And they just had built this new underpass at the Garden of the Gods. So
that's right. I forgot about that.
You could start at the visitor center or at the overflow parking lot off of the new traffic circle they built there and never have to cross a road. And that is awesome. I will tell you right now, that's nice. You don't have to play dodging with the cars.
Oh, yeah.
In there. It's really nice. The new traffic circle is nice. The project's not going to be done until next spring, but a lot of work being done. So this year was all done in the Garden of the Gods. And they brought in, for the first time, because they were doing it in the park, runners and people wanted to walk it. And they got started I think about 2 hours before the cyclists did. So they got to walk around it. And I want to say it was about 3 3/4 miles. Just a nice loop around the Garden of the Gods. And it rained a little bit, and people were watching the weather. You could see lightning to the north and some clouds over Pikes Peak, and everybody's kind of getting a little scared. And the runners and hikers did get a little rained on, but it never rained really hard and only rained for about 10 minutes. Maybe a little longer, but it didn't rain for very long. It wasn't real bad. By the time we went out on our bikes, it was dry. And as we're going around this, the sky's cleared and the full moon's coming up.
Awesome.
It was gorgeous. Now, when they used to do this going through downtown, your bike ride would be 12 or so miles. Now it's a lot shorter. But I will tell you that it is fun. And what's nice about this thing, it is just a great community event. And you get to talk to people or see people you probably haven't seen in months. You may not have seen them since the last one you did.
Oh, yeah.
Which is just the way it is. And, of course, with the pandemic, nobody's done this thing for a couple of years, so it was really, really fun.
Do a lot of people dress up in costumes and lights and all that?
They have a lighting contest for your bike, or best decorated, which is mostly, of course, it's at night. It's mostly lights. So they have a little contest with that. A lot of people dress up in different things. One guy had his bike set up like one of those I don't know what to call them, the things that they rode on in Star Wars and they were zipping in and out of the woods.
Oh, yeah.
So, of course, he was dressed like Darth Vader and stuff like that. It is a lot of fun. I'm pretty, me, Kevin, I'm pretty plain vanilla. I have a headlight, a tail light, and I'm just going to go in my shorts, I'm just going to dress like I normally dress and just go out there and ride around it. Everybody has to wear a helmet. Your bike has to have a headlight. Your bike has to have a tail light. Basic safety rules.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun. It's not a race. There's no awards for who gets back first or last or anything like that. And they have people stationed all around the place to make sure that if anybody needs anything, if your bike gets a flat or you break a chain, they may not fix it for you, but they'll give you a ride back to the starting point, and you can then take care of things. Ted's Bike Shop always has a station there where they help people get their bikes kind of tuned up, and if you forgot a headlight or a tail light, you can buy one from them. And the Boy Scouts were there making pancakes, so that's the other part of this. There's a pancake breakfast when you get done.
Nice.
I go there for the pancakes, I'll tell you that. This may be the 1 or 2 or 3 times a year that I take my bike off the ceiling of the garage and tune up. And that was an adventure because I take my bike down, looks like the back tire doesn't have any air in it. I go to inflate the back tire and pow, black tire blows. So here it is, it's 6:30 on a thing that starts at 7, and I'm running the Target trying to find an inner tube for my bike. I get the inner tube, get it on. I remember how to do that. Get it on and get there, and I ride the whole thing. It is just a lot of fun. So, and I can't say for sure, but it sounds like they're going to keep this in the Guard of the Gods. It is easier for everybody. You don't have to. There's no traffic. They close the park at 7:30. No traffic is allowed in there. They get all the cars out of there. The only vehicles in there are support vehicles, and there's not many of those. And otherwise, you just get to ride through the garden, and it's just really a lot of fun. So next year when this comes, and I think with as transient a community as Colorado Springs have, for a lot of reasons, a lot of military stuff, people may not have been here the last time they had one.
True.
And they may not have been aware of it. Now, I've been riding them for years. I have a pile. Every year they come out with a new T-shirt. They're always beautiful. I have a pile of T-shirts that say Starlight Spectacular. I'm going way back. So there may be people who, a couple years ago, when the last time they did this, were not here then. So this was an introduction to it. So, a lot of people were there. I don't know the numbers, but it was a nice-sized crowd. There was a lot of people there. And it was a great time. So for people who are interested in doing something fun next year when this comes up, I highly recommend that you sign up for it. Not only is it fun, but it supports Trails and Open Space Coalition. It's their big fundraiser every year.
Yeah, I asked about the lighting because I knew about the event, and I knew that cars were not allowed in the park. But from my apartment, I had this amazing view of the Guardian of the Gods area. And I could just see a ring of lights all the way around the park. And I was like, are they dressed up in lights or their bikes or what? So, okay.
Oh, they have, especially with the advent of LED lighting, yeah, they have lights that they I don't know how they do this. I don't know how they power them. I guess really small batteries. But they, like these lighting strings that go in the, in and out of the spokes of their bikes.
Oh, that's cool.
Tires and, and just, it's awesome. The inventiveness of some of the folks out there who I want to say they have too much time on their hands, but they have just enough time on their hands, just enough time to do this and make it perfect. So it was a lot of fun. And I highly, again, I'm going to suggest that anybody has a chance to do this next year. Really take the effort to go do it. And I put it in my column, and we've talked about it. It was coming up when it was first announced, and it is really just a blast.
Did you have any unfortunate encounters with any vehicles this time?
No. Nope, nobody did. When I was leaving, as I was riding through this new tunnel to the parking lot, almost ran into a couple of deer that I almost didn't see. They were just there looking at everybody. And I had heard a rumor that as they were packing up at the visitor center, a bear came by.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Apparently it was not an issue.
Good.
Not a threat to anybody, as we know bears typically are not. Probably was attracted to the smell of pancakes and maple syrup because they had been making pancakes there, and there wasn't many people there. But that's the beauty of this. No traffic. You have to be careful. You don't want to curb it or hit a pothole or something like that. But otherwise, it's just a lot of fun. Kevin, we have some other news here. Jennifer Peterson from the Rocky Mountain Field Institute, who has been a fixture on this podcast since we started and always has a great conversation. She was just on a month or so ago with Carl Woody, one of her people there, talking about the Devil's Playground Trail on the west side of Pikes Peak and the big project they're doing to rebuild that trail. Has announced that after quite a long tenure at the Rocky Mountain Field Institute, she is leaving that job. And she's been the executive director there for, I don't even know how many years, but it's been a while. And is leaving that job to take a position with the U.S. Forest Service, which is a great loss to Renfree, but a huge add for the Forest Service. The beauty of this is, though, that she'll be working out of the supervisor's office in Pueblo, so she'll still be in the local area, which would be wonderful. And she is going to be overseeing and managing regional partnerships, which means that the Forest Service and groups like Renfree and Pikes Peak Outdoor Recreation Alliance and all these groups that work together with the Forest Service, she's going to be kind of overseeing and managing those relationships. That's exactly what she's been doing at Renfree, just on the other side of things. So this is a great add-on for the Forest Service. I congratulate Jennifer for the work she's done there and for getting this position. I think she's going to be a great asset, not only for the Forest Service, but also for the region in general.
Yeah.
Having been on one side of that fence, this is going to be great for her to be on the other side of that fence. So we're pretty thrilled for her there, and congratulations to Jennifer for that position. And I can't think of a better person for it, although, boy, Renfree is going to have some really big shoes to fill for that position. One other thing, Kevin, this coming Saturday, August 20th, Panorama Park will be reopening. This is a park on the southeast side of town, southeast side of Colorado Springs, typically an area that has been an underserved part of Colorado Springs when it comes to parks. And 13.5 acres, so not a small park.
Oh, yeah.
This project is the largest neighborhood park renovation in history. They have spent a fortune, a well-spent fortune. The whole total project cost $8.5 million. And some of that is from the city and a lot of $3 million from private and nonprofit organizations. How is that for Colorado Springs stepping up?
That's awesome.
$3 million from privately raised money to rebuild this park. It's going to have a splash pad, which I think is kind of the new thing for water features instead of a pool. The splash pads, they recycle the water. They use less water. They're a lot more fun, I think.
They're a lot more safe.
They're a lot safer, obviously. They did this at Venezia Park on the north side of town.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
They're a lot of fun. The kids get to play in them. They're a lot less maintenance. Water's filtered through them. You don't have to hire lifeguards and stuff like that. This seems to be the wave of the future. Pools still have their place, obviously. Swimming is a rehabilitation thing for people with certain injuries or having had surgeries and stuff like that. There's a place for those. But I think for neighborhoods, sometimes these splash pads are just a lot of fun for kids.
And I think it's good to have a better, more efficient use of water, because it's always really, really nice to cool off in the summertime, and kids love it. But considering we've been in a drought for most of my life here, I think it's good for us to get smarter about that stuff.
Absolutely. And the way they do it, too, is that water comes out of these little sprays and all these different fountains and things like that. It goes right back into their system. It gets filtered, gets pumped right back out. Yeah, water has to be resupplied in there occasionally, but it's not like filling up a huge swimming pool with, I don't know how many thousands and thousands of gallons of water they take, but it's not like you're filling up a swimming pool and doing stuff like that. So this coming Saturday, August 20th, Panorama Park is reopening. There's going to be a big event there. They will have, the usual speeches and things like that. Starts at 10 a.m., The park is located at 4540 Fenton Road, near the intersection of Jet Wing Drive and Shelton Road. People in the area will know where that is, the far southeast corner of town. I hope to be there for the grand opening, so if you see me there, say hi. As we talked about last week, Cole is getting his knee surgery by the time you hear this. So it's going to depend on how he's doing, whether I get a chance to get down there. But my goal is to come down there and see this park firsthand and get a look at it and see how it looks. And should be a lot of fun. Oh, one other thing I just remembered. There is a trail in central Colorado off of Cottonwood Pass called Lost Lake. Now, there are a number of lost lakes in Colorado. I wrote about this trail a couple of years ago in my column. To get to this lake is difficult, and you end up having to go through a swampy marsh. When I was there, it was in June, and the marsh marigolds were blooming around it, surrounded by mountains. I saw that the Forest Service is building a new trail along with a parking area, because you had to kind of know where to park just on the side of the road on Cottonwood Pass. You had to know where it was. If you didn't, you wouldn't see it. They're building a parking lot, and they're building an actual trail to this lake that's supposed to be more sustainable, because going through that marsh is not good for the environment. It's not good for a lot of things. Yeah. So there was a number of ways to go the wrong way on that trail, which I found, I think, all of them when I tried to find it. So they're rebuilding that. So this new Lost Lake Trail, and they plan on having it done pretty quickly. And it's not very far. I seem to remember that this was a pretty short hike. I don't have it in front of me, but it was not a long hike to get to it. So they're rebuilding the trail, putting in a nice trail, and they're going to have it done by Labor Day, I believe.
And Cottonwood Pass is what's between Buena Vista and Crested Butte, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that road does close seasonally every year.
Yeah.
In the winter. So you won't be able to get to that trail in the winter unless you really want to just snowshoe through, many, many feet of snow. Just wait till spring. Trust me. But they will have it open. It looks like they will have the trail open before they close the road for the season, which will be nice. So people will get a chance to go up there and enjoy it. But it was really a nice hike, and it was a beautiful lake. I still have the pictures someplace hanging up about that I've shot there, and I've included them in my calendar.
Oh, okay.
So that's being worked on. I just happened to run across the announcement on the Facebook page that Forest Service is working on that. My suggestion would be just wait until they rebuild this trail. You don't want to go the old way.
Yeah.
And B, you don't want to get in the way of the people up there working. So just stay out of the area and then go up there. And you know what? Now I have an excuse to go back up there and do it again.
Exactly.
I like the way this works out. In any case, Kevin, did you have anything you want to talk about?
Not at the moment. I think I'm good.
Okay. Well, everybody, thanks for listening to the Outdoors Viking Bob podcast.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Before you go, did you know you can rate and review our Studio 809 podcasts? That will help us, because our egos really need to have thousands and thousands of listeners. But that helps our wonderful sponsors reach more ears too. And we do love our sponsors. So just go to Studio 809 or any individual 809 podcast in your iTunes or podcast app and click on ratings and reviews. Thanks.